Hey, super parents. This is Dr. Nick Fanning. Today I have a special episode where I interviewed one of my close friends, Dr. Adana Vargas. And the reason I did that is because she has a brand new mission in life where it involves affirmation cards. And if you have not heard about affirmations or doing visualizations in your own life, just take some notes. You're going to really enjoy this episode because we get into the full fact of what are we actually doing with affirmations, this internal dialogue into our mind, and how that dictates a lot of how we respond to different scenarios in our lives. And what is the best way we can do to kind of reprogram this whole, operating system for our lives? And then also, how do we also pay that forward towards our own kids so that they have a brand new voice in their head versus the ones that were handed down to us. So this is a huge, just an absolutely amazing show. I think you're really going to enjoy this. And by the end of it, you're going to understand exactly why this would be part of the super parent syndrome mission is honestly, as we try to create, bigger and better and, just lasting relationships and honestly just help you create a legacy of just success for you, but also more importantly for your kids and grandkids. So sit back and relax. Here's the show.
Parenting in the 21st century is ever evolving, and while you balance work, kids, and your sanity, it's easy to feel discouraged. Welcome to the Super Parent Syndrome with your host, Dr. Nick Fanning.
Hey, super parents, this is Dr. Nick Fanning, and with me today is a very special guest, Dr. Adana Vargas. And she, the reason why I picked her is that I've been running around in very similar circles with her. We are in part of a program called Wake Up Cairo. And that's really not the purpose of today's call, but more so the fact that she has a new product out there that has been completely game-changing for my family as in the day-to-day, just like regular rituals. And they're called affirmation cards. But before we get into that, I want to say that this woman is absolutely remarkable. You will feel her energy as you start this conversation because not only is she a chiropractor, she's a nutritional coach. She is a business coach. She coaches moms, especially. You're a full-time mom. You're a full-time business owner. And on top of that, you somehow found a way to not only have this amazing product of affirmation cards, but you've actually also found a way to actually start spreading this message into the public school system as well. And I guess overall, now that I'm just kind of reading this all off, Dr. Adana, how the heck are you doing all this?
Nick, I'm blushing. This is so exciting. Oh, it's not smooth sailing. Let's start there. To any moms out there, this wasn't there's rainbows and butterflies coming out of my ass doing it. It was a journey because let's go straight to the affirmation card. I think because everybody listening, the reason I even did this was because of Dr. Nick. Because he just casually happened to say, never casually, right? He just happened to say, hey, why don't you make this something? And I was like, oh my God. But how long did that take? 7 months? That should have been a little bit of a shorter process. But, sometimes you just have to plant the seed and let it do its thing.
Well, the beautiful part is you were already doing this with your daughter. And the only thing I did is just kind of coax you just a little bit that I think other parents should be doing this as well. And a lot of us have no idea where to start.
Right.
So how did, going way back to the beginning, how did you even think to start something like this? How old was Amaya in the first place? Sorry.
When we first started this with Amaya, she was probably about 18 months old.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying a bunch of words. And so we would just start to say, I am, and then we would pick something for the day. And I did this on just some index cards. I cut them in half, took some colorful markers, wrote an affirmation on each. I had a journal out, and I would have her pick a card during breakfast every morning. And she would pick a card, and we would say her affirmation out loud and kind of talk about it. And then I would ask her intention for the day. Now, most of the time, my 18-month-old would say play. That was her and I would jot it down, for about every one of the cards I made, which was probably a month's worth at that time. I would jot down her affirmation, and I would also write down what her intention was for that day. So it was fun to just be able to see what she wanted to do. And then she just started walking around the house, and she would say, I am, and then she would pick something. And then as she got older, she added more things to I am. Like, I am a great climber is probably her favorite affirmation. But yeah, we were just like, why not? Because it's been a part of our own journey and our own like mindset journey. And I wish I would have known this as a kid. Like, I started this as an adult,
Absolutely.
and just kind of with that self-talk. So I was like, you know what? If we start to do this now and these kids constantly see these words now, then yeah, it might not save them in specific things all the time, but they're going to have something to anchor to. Like, they're going to know their self-talk's going to be a smidge different than everybody else's, really.
Absolutely. And if you really think about anybody listening to this, they know that, gosh, sometimes we're our own worst enemy in the way we talk about ourselves and talk to ourselves. And I remember there was a time in there you're just like, man, I just got to start being nice to myself. I got to start loving myself. And I think it was after one of your stacks or activities, you were talking about this, that the old self, the old bitch has to die, Well,
yeah, because isn't the quote, like, if your friends or family talk to you the way you talk to yourself, you freaking fire their asses. Like, those people would not be in your life, but
exactly.
Like, we get away with doing, or we accept it with ourselves. And it's like, hey, hold on. Like, that's not okay.
It is.
So, yeah.
So in your own life, how have you also applied this to yourself? I mean, obviously it's a little bit easier, we say it's easier as adults to create an affirmations and do these things. Like, how do you use this in your own life right now? And how's that changed? How's that caused things to change?
Affirmations have continue to be a part of my morning routine. And so how they've changed is it's just phases of life. Like, certain times, certain affirmations just really were my anchor and kept me there. Mm-hmm. And then I had to keep that there up until the point where that then became my norm. Like, I was really okay with that statement and accepting it. And then it just was like, yeah, that's who I am. Don't need to continue to say that. But hey, you know what? I like to work in things that make me feel uncomfortable. And I like to have people do the same thing, because there's words and certain phrases that come up for people and for myself too, where the first thing I think is, nah, that's not me. And then on the flip side, it's like, yes, it is. Like, how can I have that be me? So I like to switch them out more in times of what I really should be focusing on, which should be really uncomfortable. And then there's a lot of fun ones that I keep forever, that have been there since day one, that I've written them.
Amen. So here's the thing, probably about a third of our audience probably has no idea what the heck we're talking about, even when we're saying affirmations. So maybe you can dive in a little bit deeper about what affirmations are and why should people actually be doing them? Like, what is the whole purpose of that?
Basically, an affirmation is just a statement, right? And my affirmation cards are an I am statement. So it's something that you state about yourself. You affirm about yourself. And that could really be either positive or negative. So you can say I'm amazing, or you can say I'm a jerk. Like, we each have whatever thoughts that go through our head, right? Obviously, the point of the cards is to, push you to the I am amazing side. But the intention of affirmations is just to constantly feed our minds with things that we really should be saying to ourselves and deep down want to be saying to ourselves, and to course correct when we're not. So I think one of my favorite times to take out an affirmation card or state an affirmation is when I'm in this spiral of like motherhood. Oh my God, I suck. What did I do? I just yelled. And then I just have to stop and be like, okay, I'm a good mom. Even if that's all that comes out of my mouth, the course correct part is probably a really important part of that. But it's just words we say about ourselves, to ourselves, and then to everybody else around us. And then how we show up too, because then, you constantly stay in that I am a jerk place. Well, guess what? You're just going to show up as a jerk all the time. And everyone's going to think you're a jerk, but your story is going to be that everybody thinks I'm a jerk, instead of realizing you just said that to yourself. So you just come out like that, and show up like that. So.
No, that's huge. In fact, I have to wonder how many people are sitting there being like, man, when's the last time I told myself I was a good mom or a good dad? It's sad, because here's the thing, folks, no matter what, she made a great point here. You're saying affirmations to yourself no matter what. And it's either consciously chosen, like you choose what you're trying to say and moving into a direction, or you're just kind of reacting to the moment. And what do most people like to do, Doc?
React.
Oh yeah, we totally react. And honestly, most of the time it's probably pretty negative. And even some of the most happiest people out there probably just have that fake smile on, and inside they're just so much turmoil.
Right. And you know what? It's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, we don't need to get into the great, you're going to beat yourself up because you just reacted. Like, I reacted 8 times, like, last night. So, but it's okay. Like, and I get to be okay with it being okay. And I think that takes a lot of work too. It's taken a lot of work for me to just realize, like, you know what? Yes. My kid had a tantrum last night and it didn't end well. Like, I went to bed kind of pissed. But before I went to sleep, I made sure to tell her something positive. I made sure to kind of just close my eyes and tell myself something positive, and just know that that was one moment, not the whole thing in life, not the whole being of our relationship and how I am. That was one freaking moment. So if I continue to just stick in that one moment, game over. Like,
absolutely,
who wants to be pissed all day long forever, you know? And especially with kids, come on, give me a break.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can totally lose my shit on my kids, and then, gosh, I'm going to beat myself up over it. And versus saying like, gosh, you know, I like, what am I going to do better next time? Or, you know, I'm not a bad dad. Let's talk about this. Let's pump the kid back up, and I'm going to do better next time. But I'm not a bad dad. I just made a 5-minute error or 2-minute error.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Like a couple minute error. But how many of those couple minute errors do we hold on to for like 32 years?
Oh yeah, I still think about the stuff I did back when I was like 8. You know?
Yeah.
Middle of the night, I'm like, oh gosh, why did I do that?
Exactly. So yeah.
So when you're doing affirmations, to kind of move on from there, like, what is the best way to do it? I mean, are we talking about like first thing in the morning where we're still kind of waking up? Should we have these things posted all over the place? Are we like supposed to repeat them to ourselves? Are we supposed to stand on top of a table and shout from the skies? What is the, there you go. Good. So what is the Dr. Adana system to get this done?
So I always tell people there's no wrong or right way to do them. Just do them. I like to, and it took me a while to do this, but I like to look in the mirror and say them because, again, it's very like uncomfortable at times to do it for myself.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times I like to like dance and kind of create a little bit of a song to them. Sometimes I'll just say them silently in my head. I have them posted almost everywhere. So keeping them like on the mirror while you're brushing your teeth, in the car, like, it's just fun. Have it in places, oh God, especially have it in places where you've got triggers. Like if you go to work and you know there's some like stuff happening and it's not really changing, keep it at your desk. A couple of my kids, the teenagers in the office, they have it as the backdrop of their phones and like their lock screens. So they know when they've got like a test or something coming on, they pull up an affirmation, they look at it. And they go from there. Like, put it all over, you know, why not?
That's
have
awesome.
a book with them, whatever it might be, however you want to keep them. Stand on a table, say them silently, do it during meditation, do what resonates with you, but then do the thing where you're like, I would never dance and say my affirmations. Do that. Like, you don't have to do it for everybody, but just do that. Like, whatever you just thought right now, do that one first.
I love that. Just do whatever you thought right there. Yeah. I can tell you folks that the more that you engage with these affirmations, the more your brain kind of helps to rewire with this stuff. It's not just flaky, hippy dippy stuff, right? This is real actual neuroscience here.
And, you know, with the kids too, and kind of what I wanted to do with the kids was, you know, bring them up at dinner. Like, bring up a phrase or a word, and yeah, your kids might roll their eyes and they might be like, I don't want to talk about that. But deep down, they're listening. Like, at the end of the day, they're listening to what you're saying, however they're going to react. And so maybe talk about a situation at school, or talk about something that had come up and how they could have channeled that affirmation, or how next time they'll, you know, dig deep into this anchor and go from there. Or give them an example, or, you know, have them choose a family member and then pick an affirmation about them. And, like, acknowledge them in that way and say, you know, you are nice because of blank, and like fill in something nice that they've done for themselves. And then that way the kids and the parents too can just get involved on the same level. So.
Wow, that was a beautiful suggestion. I never even thought about doing affirmations for other people. Holy
yeah. Because it makes it fun, because, you know, sometimes we don't like to compliment ourselves as much as we should be. And so if you start by engaging the conversation with somebody else, half those words that are coming out of your mouth about somebody else are about you as well, because you've shown up that same way for them. That's why they're sitting around that table with you.
Wow, that just blew my mind right there. You're right, because what we project onto others is really more about ourselves. Yeah. Wow, that is crazy. That's amazing. So as you introduce these things into your clients, into your own family, and now into the schools, like, expand on what's happening at the schools. Like, help me understand, like, what is this movement now?
So, kind of unfortunately, but fortunately, the reason why I started at this first school was these kids are TK to 8. And this last year was a really hard year for the school, just mental stress wise. Like, they had a lot of suicidal tendencies and conversations, and just more than they've ever had. And so as a whole, they just decided, oh God, like we gotta focus on mindset. Like, we gotta shift something with these kids. And so when I sat down with the principal, they were just really trying to work on mindfulness. And so I just suggested, hey, you know what? Here's a way to focus on mindfulness, and here's what we're going to do. And so they have posters in the classrooms, and it's up to the teachers to decide like how they want to switch them out. But they have posters, and with those posters, they basically run their own show in that sense. And they've got a whole video series on how to use them. And so they've done everything from art projects with them. They've done skits with them. They've done compliment another student in class with them.
Pretty awesome.
They're working on more, like, it's a part of their morning rituals as well. And when they start their day, they talk about things, meditation with them. One of the things that I did, which I'm like still mind blown thinking about, they had an assembly. And so we went out and I spoke at the assembly, and I had them do deep breathing with me. And as they were breathing, I was quietly kind of stating the affirmation with them, and they were silent. There was over like 1,000 kids there, and every single child was silent and deep breathing.
That's amazing.
And I was like, oh my God, should I keep going? Like, the whole school is silent. And we're like outside, and the principal's looking at me and I'm looking at her. But it just made us realize, like, they crave that stuff. Like, you know, the 8th grader might be laughing in the back for a minute, but as soon as we went to that place, they went there. Like, right. And they might not go every day, but you know what? They want that stuff. And
yeah, sounds like they're craving it.
Yes, and they were paying attention, and we all need to just stop and deep breathe once in a while. So even if it was for 15 seconds, it was for 15 seconds. So I'm really excited about these kids just being exposed to the language. Because it's not the reality of a lot of kind of their home lives, unfortunately. So the decks have stayed also. They have decks of the smaller cards, and they get to use them just in the classrooms as the teachers use them. But this actually, I also did it with the staff, and it was magnificent to see their reactions, because I was like, and you wonder why your kids are going to show up the way that they do, because they went to a negative place too. Because I put all their cards face down. I told them to choose a card, and I said, whatever affirmation you get today, that's what you're meant to get. And so they flipped their cards over, and I was like, how many of you went to a no way, that's not me place? And a lot of people raised their hand. And I was like, you see, you have these mindsets about you. You can't show up like that to these kids, because then they're going to show up like that too. Like, while you're doing this, adult,
perpetuates,
just because it's for the kids, like, you're reframing your own thoughts too. And then you're just all channeling better energy.
I think you hit the spot on there. My wife teaches a yoga class for kids, and one of the exercises they did is she said, I want you to go around and tell me one thing that you like or love about yourself. This is a group of basically 6-year-olds all the way up to 14-year-olds.
Love.
And I love the exercise, but do you have any idea what actually happened?
Oh my God.
It was a disaster. Yeah. Nobody knew what to say. They literally, like, one person said, like, I guess I like my smile. And that was it. And there's like, honestly, like 10 kids there. One kid started crying because they don't have that dialogue going on in their head.
Sure.
Oh, and honestly, I bet if you look to most adults, same thing, right?
They don't have it. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So we know the solution. We got to prove. Where do you think all this came from? Any theories? Where do you think all this, like, where do you think this all came from or started? Any theories?
I mean, so much of it is from when we were younger, and home life and experiences, and more so how we, I think, just interpreted those experiences. Like, someone may have never had the intention of telling you, I don't know. Like, I think about when I was little, I remember, like, I wasn't a big kid. I was the tall kid. So that was always a thing. Like, I was like the giant. But I was never like overweight and stuff, but I got picked on by like family members for some things. And it took me a while, and I still can go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, shit, good Lord, I was like 10. Like, what's happening? I'm 35.
Absolutely.
Like, why is this still a thing? So it's those things, but then those things can either just stick with you, or you can realize like, those are just things someone told me. Bye. Like, we have to be done with this. So here's where I really am. And if it bothers you enough, why?
That's beautiful.
That's that question too, which most people don't want to ask themselves why something's bothering them. So
yeah, we're kind of handed this operating system and just reinforced over as we
yeah.
grow. And we may be told these things, or we believed one thing and happened in middle school, or we happened,
sure.
You know, our parents told us, or, you know, we talked, you know, our parents said our ears were big one time, they didn't even, weren't even thinking. And yet we carry these stories forward. So I guess this is a great way to break that cycle, to create a whole new legacy, to create a whole new way of doing things.
Right. No matter how old you are. And look, just because you break a cycle once doesn't mean it won't come back. And so be ready to break that cycle differently. But the more tools you have under your belt, the better language you have for yourself, the faster you'll break that cycle the next time around. Which is what it really comes down to. Just recognizing it and then telling it to go away.
Right.
Even keep that language better than anything else. So.
It's not easy, but so it just takes time and repetition, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Obviously, your cards, I'm sure, is an amazing resource. I'm sure anybody can just Google affirmations and get started. If let's just say they're the teacher that is already overwhelmed. It's the end of the school year already, and they're like, "Gosh, you know, I've already gone through my budgets. How the heck do I start?" Or even the parent being like, "Man, I'm just about to have my kids home all summer."
Right.
And I can tell you at this point right now, things are not great. And I know we have a lot of work to do because, right, I can tell you this, my mindset is not into it right now. So like how should how should the 90% of Americans right now, or people listening around the world, where do they start? Where do they begin?
Buy a deck.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't do it for work if you don't have to, it's already done. And then from there, just pick one thing. Like, don't make it so hard. Put them around the house. Make a game out of it. Have the kids do some fun things with it if they're home for the summer, because I know then their schedules are all over the place with it as well. Have them incorporate it into reading. You know, make it something weekly that they do. Get yourself a deck at home. If you're a teacher and you want something for your classrooms, you know, let me know, contact me that way, and we can talk about smaller cards, bigger posters, whatever will fit. But just get it and just read it. Just keep reading it, because, you know, I have one kid and she's not in school, but I could only imagine when that whole schedule changes, everything shifts. So parents, you just basically have to reinvent yourselves for the summer, right? Yeah. And so this might be a really good way to incorporate that good mindset for you, to know that, like, you got this. So.
Amen. And folks, I can tell you this is that sometimes it's even the thought of doing these for ourselves is so uncomfortable. You start doing them for your kids first. And you know what, as you push it onto them, you know, I know you're going to get some of that back for yourself as well, you know, and I encourage you to expand on that too, because you got to lead by example, first of all. But then also I love affirmations in the sense that you can almost create this mantra. And I want you to picture this as like, you know, they're kids now, but when they're gone and out of the house, what words do you want to echo in their mind as they're tackling something hard, or they're experiencing something new and they're afraid or something like that? Do they want your words, or the words that they've told themselves, to be negative or positive? I mean, you have to think not only just your kids now, but think of legacy. Think about in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the things that we do with our kids is that we have like a little mantra of 3 or 4 things that they do. So like for my 4-year-old, it's I am strong, I am brave, I can do anything. And so whether or not she's walking up to the T-ball to hit the ball, we're like, hey, you're strong, you're brave, you can do anything. Or the fact that she was like looking to jump from one thing to another, you know, we'll often hear her now say, I'm strong, I am powerful, I can do anything. And it's those things that we say like, hey, what can we get to echo in all time, you know, for the rest of their lives, but also in the lives of their children's and children's children.
Sure.
Man, when you think about what is at stake, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. So much to it.
And that's what I think, honestly.
I still say affirmations at the office sometimes when I come to adjust. Like, I'll still say something to myself. and it's not a new skill, but I'll still pull into that place because then I know, okay, clearer mind, better mind. Like I said last night, going to sleep, just going to tell myself a couple of things so that I don't go to sleep in this pissed off, angry, like unhappy, negative place, because great quality sleep comes from that place, doesn't it?
Yeah. They say, last 30 minutes, whatever you're doing, that's what you dream about all night too. So, I mean, gosh.
Yeah. Oh my God, I did. And I still have like a little bit of a stressful dream, but you're right. Like even in my dream, I just had to like calm myself down.
Right.
Perfect. Perfect. You just reminded me. So yeah.
Beautiful. Now, folks, the reason why I like these cards is that if you were to like go online and like search up affirmations, or if you were to like, just like, okay, what am I going to come up with? I can tell you this, you're always going to pick from a list. You're always going to pick from your mind, the comfort zone stuff. You know what I mean? So like if you're forced to be like, all right, I'm going to do an affirmation, you'd be like, all right. Well, if you're a long distance runner, you're probably going to choose things like I'm a good runner, and I am fast and I have good heart health. And then you're not going to go anything outside your comfort zone. Would you say that's correct?
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cards, I guess you created these cards in mind for something like that. Can you expand a little bit there? Because we touched on it earlier, but I want to really expand on there.
Yeah, they basically go full spectrum. Like there's no particular area that they go. They talk about body, everything from health to being awesomely healthy to strong, to mindset of courageous, to financial, which there's wealthy, there's abundant, like whatever it ties in. Because in every situation, I think you can channel from all of those places. And I get this asked all the time, but like, where did you get these affirmations from? And I'm like, my brain. And they're like, what about the sentences? I'm like, yeah, those two came to me. So that's my favorite question. And I just kind of sat down one day and I was like, what words resonate with me? What stands out and why? And the sentences are super simple, but it's just another example and just another kind of anchor and acknowledgement of what that word means. Because we can say the words, I am strong, and then you like kind of roll your eyes and move on. Like you can say an affirmation shitty too, right? Just because it's a good one doesn't mean you're like saying it excited. But when you read a sentence that goes along with it, you're like, oh, okay, fine. You like pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah. Like I have, for example, like one of my things is I am strong and I am confident, but then you have this card that says I am secure in my being. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can say that. But then it says I'm strong and confident in my ways. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am secure in my being, but I never would have really thought that. And for me, that was always like one out of my comfort zone. Yeah. And when I really can repeat that to myself, it's like, yeah, I have a whole different perspective and purpose into what I'm trying to say, or even doing a podcast with that,
Those words make me uncomfortable too. And that's why I wrote them down. Like I like to go head to head with myself. I just do. Mm-hmm. But I also recognize like, ooh, that's a little bit hard to say at times, and that's why I'm like, nope, gotta write it down. I did it a few times, but I gotta write this down. Like I gotta be present to that. So
that's beautiful.
It's the uncomfortable parts of my head on that piece of paper. So.
Yeah, and I can see that because like after card, it's like every other card is like, oh, this is an easy one, and then every other card after that is like, oh, I'm a little comfortable, and like every third card, I'm like, what? Oh goodness, I have to repeat that a couple times. Yeah, okay. Like appreciation of myself.
This is a beaming being a lot of times, and they're like, wait. And I'm like, yes, beam. Like you are beaming your energy and your everything. So
absolutely,
it's so much fun.
So folks, I think by now you have an understanding about why Adana here is just a natural when it comes to coaching, and especially like even stuff like the tough topic of nutrition. I have no idea why you would choose nutrition to coach on people, because I can tell you that there's a saying that says it's easier to change a man's diet, or it's easier to change a man's religion than his diet. And so obviously you've tackled the hardest areas of most people's lives. One, their core belief structure, but also nutrition as well. And, obviously then you're still a full-time mom, full-time chiropractor, full-time business owner. You're just going nonstop. So
my own journey, like it's all from my own journey, because I had such a pivotal change in my own health and nutrition about 6 years ago that I just decided that's not, I have to share this, and I know it makes a big difference. And if I can talk like 2 seconds about it, I started having really weird mindset stuff. Actually, I had some anxiety, and I would feel like down, and I would get rage, and I was like, what's happening? I had no idea it was diet related. And we're like in this field, but I had no idea. And then I just kind of pulled a couple things from my diet, and my mindset changed. And I was a little bit mind blown. One of those things being gluten, because it messes with serotonin. And I always had an issue with it, but I never put two and two together. And so again, I think the nutrition part comes to it because it went straight to the mindset place for me. It's like, I don't want to feel like that ever again because of food. I didn't want that to be what brought me down. So that was it. And so it all kind of fits in together, right? Same puzzle pieces, different part of it.
Beautiful blender of experiences in life, life's challenges to help that we can help other people as well. So that's absolutely amazing. So, what kind of projects are you working on? What's I guess if people are really buzzing with this kind of message, obviously we're going to put a link in the show notes about how to actually get your hands on a deck of these cards. But what's the best way for people to start interacting with you?
Instagram would be fantastic. I also do have a Facebook page, but Instagram is great. It's a place for me to just kind of share about life and share about coaching and the cards and what we're doing. Parenting, nutrition, all of the above. You can of course reach out to me privately in that sense too, but Insta is a great place to go.
Absolutely. And also I hear that you have this new project, this new podcast as well.
Yes. So my everything is under Coffee and Mindset is my baby because I love those two things, coffee and mindset. So we do.
I think there's a parent listening and they're like, yes, that's me too. Coffee.
Amen. So my husband and I have a podcast called Coffee and Mindset. So that's really exciting. And we just basically talk about life. We will tell you what we're drinking that day, what blends we like, what places we like to go, both in California and around the world, because that's literally our favorite thing to do is find good coffee shops when we travel. But we just talk about different things from our daughter and things she teaches us and things we learn. And we're just about to do an episode about this tantrum that happened last night. And we just realized how we could have totally stopped this whole thing. But we realized it after the fact, 20 minutes.
Of course, right?
And then my little project that I'm working on for this quarter is a book that's going to incorporate these affirmations, and that's all I'll say about that for now. But
that's exciting.
A book, so we'll see. Yes.
Beautiful, folks. So I guess you have a lot of resources out there, folks, that you could actually get a hold of Dr. Adana here. Check out Coffee and Mindset podcast. Check her out on Instagram too, as well. It's also Coffee and Mindset too, right? The handle for that. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so it's a really great way to get involved. Obviously, if you have nutrition issues, or if you're just looking if you just loved her energy today, which I don't know who wouldn't, she would be a great resource for even doing some mindset coaching as well. So
and you can email me at coffeeandmindset@gmail.com. So everything is basically coffee and mindset.
Love it. Any parting thoughts?
Any parting thoughts? Just, you're doing fantastic, and just remember that, there's so much, especially with parenting, there's so much that comes up, but at the end of the day, we have to remember that we're awesome. We got this. There's a reason, they're our kids. There's a reason we showed up as their parents, and just be a smidge nicer to yourself because you deserve it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely do. You're not alone in that time, folks.
No.
And I have to definitely echo those words, is that you are awesome. The fact that you're even listening to a parenting podcast like this means that you're trying to show up in a bigger, better way. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out peptalksforparents.com, where I have a free newsletter about these podcasts with show notes available as well. And folks, it's just an overall great resource, because I can tell you this is that, it's hard enough being a parent. We just need to band together and do everything we possibly can and support each other, because it really does take a village. So Dr. Adana, thank you. I honor you for taking time.
Thank you.
And honestly, these cards are absolutely amazing. I've been using them for a long time now, and I actually have them in my office so we can do it with our clients as well. And I can tell you this is such an amazing product, and I absolutely love everything you and Chris are doing. So just so proud of you.
Love you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, folks, we're signing off.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Super Parent Syndrome. Please be sure to visit peptalksforparents.com for more content and our free newsletter. And remember, you are not alone.